Welcome to a short demo of Sage Intacct for drug development. My name is Jamie and I'm a Sage Intacct specialist here at ION. And I'm joined today by another Sage Intacct specialist, Liam. Liam is going to take us through some questions and topics that have arisen during our time of implementing financial software into the pharmaceutical sector. So to begin with, a quick overview of true cloud accounting software. Firstly, there are no servers required to run the software, which removes server maintenance and expenditure costs. Also, you can access the system anywhere, anytime, through any browser. And this can be done through an array of devices such as a laptop, mobile phone, desktop, or tablet. System updates are carried out once a quarter by Sage and occur out of office hours. This minimizes any impact of downtime and eliminates the manual task of updating each device on an individual basis. And finally, data is stored within the UK and is managed in line with the GDPR guidelines. Now, on to the first question. Frequently, we have found that drug development processes span across numerous locations. So, Liam, can we pull this data into the platform so that we can have visibility at all times?
Thanks for the question, Jamie. Hi, everyone. Yes, in short, Sage Intacct allows users to process transactions into various different avenues of analysis. They are Sage Intacct dimensions. If I go into a journal screen for demonstration purposes, we can see on screen just processing a general journal, which most finance teams would need to process at some point during the month. This would also apply to other transactions such as cash management, purchase orders, requisitions, sales. Any transaction that goes into the Sage Intacct system can be tagged with up to 7 dimensions that come standard with the program. As a user processes a transaction and chooses the GL account or nominal code for terminology purposes, they can also then choose the rest of the dimensions that are visible on screen at the moment. So Jamie, your question specifically was around locations. So as a transaction is entered into the Sage Intacct system, a user can pick from various different locations. These could be the entities, such as United Kingdom Operations Limited, or they could be office locations or anything that you feel is relevant that you class as a location within your system. For example, a New York or a Las Vegas office as an example. This theory spans across other dimensions such as departments, class, supplier, customer, item, and employee. You can add other dimensions if you feel your transactions require further analysis, but we've, during implementations previously, have found that 7 dimensions is enough to tag transactions to then be able to slice and dice the data. As a quick example of how that location report would then work, at the end of the month, the quarter, the year, whatever it may be, you might want to run a report that's expanded out by location. So if I go to my tab at the top of the screen just to show a quick example of one of my financial reports, and if I run a balance sheet by location, what the program will do is it will take my balance sheet GL codes, but it will expand the report out by as many locations as I require it to be. For demonstration purposes, I've set up a UK entity group. So any entity that I have in my group environment that is a UK-based currency, I can add as a location. When I run the report, the program will automatically split out my UK holdings and UK Ops Limited entities so I can track individual values, as well as adding a summary column on the right-hand side so that I can get the total values of both those entities.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Liam. Now, in relation to the report that you've just shown us, can we still run that report if the operating countries do not share the same base currency?
You can indeed, yes. So Sage Intacct for drug development has a subscribable module called Global Consolidations. This typically is done in Excel by current finance systems and can incorporate potential human error, especially with exchange rates and such like. Sage Intacct provides a global consolidations module which allows a user to set up as many consolidation books as they feel necessary. What this allows the user to do is to handpick all the entities within their environment that they want to consolidate together into produce reports within a certain consolidation currency. For example, I've got one here called Global, and it will consolidate into the USD currency. Within that, I can have as many consolidation entities within my group. If I have a quick look at my drop-down, I've got quite a few entities within my organization. And if I want all of these to be consolidated together to produce one report for a board or for an investor, anyone who it may be, I can then run, say, that balance sheet report again that we just had on screen. But if I run it this time from the consolidations module and I run my consolidated balance sheet global, what I get this time is a similar concept to what we just had on screen where it was expanded out by location, but this time it is now expanded out by more locations, all consolidated into one default currency. That default currency can be specified by the user as a custom rate, or it can be fed in from Oanda, which is an exchange rate platform that Sage Intacct links to on a daily basis to pull through a daily exchange rate to make your figures as accurate as possible.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Now, moving into the day-to-day processing, how can Sage Intacct for drug development improve, for example, a purchase order approval process?
Great question, and one we get asked quite frequently. So as core within the Sage Intacct system, there is a purchasing module, which initially would allow any user or implementer, such as Ion, to discuss with the customer how they want that workflow to work. So if I go into my demonstration environment here and we have a look at the workflow that we have available at the moment, and I make that visual, you can see at the moment we have a couple of different workflows where different processes and things can happen throughout this workflow. But if we keep it as straightforward as it can be, where we have a purchase requisition that feeds into a purchase order, that feeds into a goods received, that feeds into an invoice, that process can then be customized, as you can see on screen, to add in inventory or to not have inventory, add goods received, add reversals, whatever it may be. They can be accessed by users on tablets, phones, any mobile device that has internet availability. They can log into the system and they can process a purchase requisition. What the Intacct system excels really well at is that because it's one platform and it is a cloud-based environment, anyone can log in to submit that requisition. Further to that, anyone who's submitting a requisition can also then have an approval policy assigned to it. So for example, if I go into requisition now and I go in and generate a requisition screen, there shouldn't be anything in here that any finance user isn't necessarily familiar with in terms of the boxes, that the criteria that will be required to complete the requisition. We have date, we have supplier, we might have a project that we want to link this to. We've got various terms, references, attachments. They can be stored within the Intacct systems nice and securely. Exchange rate we've kind of just discussed previously. And then obviously as we go in, we can then build the requisition by item, whether that be stock items or whether that just be item descriptions such as travel, laptops, consultancy, anything that you might need within your day-to-day purpose. Once the requisition has been built by the user and they've chosen their department, their location, and filled in any relevant dimensions, they would then submit that requisition and it would then go through to approval based on either their user's manager, so an employee manager approval policy, or department manager, or location manager, or even in conjunction with value-based approval policies as well. So anything up to a certain value can be self-approved or self-authorized. Anything between £500 and £1,000 will require one person to approve it, and so on and so forth. What that does automatically within the system is it will email the approver so that they can then get visibility straight away. And if I just bring up a quick example on screen here, this is the kind of transaction approval email that an approver would receive. As you can see, it's got some information on there, who submitted it, when was it submitted, how much is it for, but importantly, they also get a blue display hyperlink here, which if clicked would then take the user back into the Sage Intacct system directly to the transaction approval screen for the approver to then log in and process that approval policy.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Liam. Now, say I need to produce regular reports for my board members, maybe on a quarterly or a monthly basis. How can I achieve this through using the Sage Intacct system?
Great question. Everyone always wants to get to the reporting aspect of any new system. As I say before, a lot of finance systems will be used to exporting things to Excel, manual manipulation, just to produce something for a certain audience. Could be an internal finance team, could be a board member, it could be an investor. What Sage Intacct does really well is it gives the users various different avenues to explore those data fields that we mentioned, especially with the dimensions. If I go back to my first tab at the start of the video, we've got a dashboard on screen here. So first and foremost, what is a dashboard? A dashboard is a real-time information platform where any user can build any of their dashboards to have anything on it that they like. Those features can typically include any websites or URL links. They can include reports. They can include numbered reports, such as the profit and loss one that we've got on screen here. We can also have visual aspects as well, such as on the right-hand side, we've got some key performance indicators where the program is taking potentially a general ledger code from this month versus a general ledger code from last month. There's a bit of a month-on-month trend. Could be a bank balance, could be revenue, could be labor cost, anything that user wants to see on that key performance indicator. As we go down a bit further, we've also got some visual reports in here, such as bar charts and pie charts. Again, we know not every report audience will want to see just pure numbers. They want to see things that are nice and visual. So if a finance team walked into a board meeting, they could plug their laptop in onto the big screen, they could load this dashboard, and they could start to answer and analyze any of the questions that might come up during the meeting.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. And finally, in the event that I need more insight into my leftover budget and funding, how can the Intacct system enable me to achieve this?
Really key question, making sure that budgets are maintained and kept on top of to make sure that no one is overspending. There is features within Sage Intacct where the configurable module called Spend Management, which allows users to put in budgets against certain nominal codes and certain department combinations to stop people from submitting requisitions that will put people over budget. If that wasn't required, running something like the report that we've got on this dashboard at the moment, that the profit and loss actual versus budget, if I hit the little magnifying glass to drill into that report to analyze it a little bit further, I can put some certain prompts in there. If I'm looking at certain departments or certain locations, I'm just looking at an overall group level budget and funding, run into the report. You can now see expanded out. We've got some budgets that have been loaded into the system. We have a commitments column, so that is picking up any purchase orders that has been approved currently. So we can again track what is committed expenditure versus the actual value that's been posted as well. And then we've got a bit of a difference on there as well. Again, that's been color coded to make it highly visual. And we've got a variance percentage on the right-hand side. So what is the budget minus what is committed minus what is actual gives us that difference. And as I say, this report, because it's on that dashboard, is real time. So if someone wants to update the date from 2019 to today's date, all they would need to do is just change the values on the dashboard and they could hit apply. Other features could be added in here to filter down by department or filter down by location. So anything like that can be added into the dashboard to be ran. If users prefer to have an Excel document with various tabs and different reports on there, you could also do that within Sage Intacct using a report group. So you almost build a management pack of reports. It might be that you include this profit and loss report that we just had a look at. It might include a trial balance, a balance sheet, your aging reports for your accounts payable and your accounts receivable. And that can then be exported to PDF or emailed directly to certain users if required as well. It's not just the dashboards that are available, that people don't want to have access to it. I know in the past people have been conscious of giving someone access to a system in case they start pressing buttons that they shouldn't be able to. Again, during the implementation with Ion, we would make sure and go through that everyone who needs to see these bits of information, they will have access to it. And as I say, if they wanted sort of really hard and fast control over it, we'd recommend the spend management module, which we can delve into a little bit deeper in another video.
That's excellent. Thank you very much for those insights, Liam. There was lots of very useful information there. That's all from us. So thank you very much for watching. If you do have any queries surrounding the Sage Intacct system, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us and we will get back to you as soon as possible.